Hello. So if you couldn't really tell from the thumbnail to this video and that nice little intro, today I'm going to be talking about first fix electrics in your camper van, or in my camper van. Some of you might have noticed, but actually this is going to be my first long form video when it comes to this camper build. So yeah, up until now I've been posting and doing like short form, like shorts and reels and stuff, documenting the build. Now I want to go into doing long form videos to put on my YouTube channel. This channel is heavily involved around this camper van and where it can take me and what we can do as me personally and the family. So I thought, why not actually properly document the build itself as well. So yeah, this is my driveway, this is my camper van, and I want to start this video by saying that I am not a qualified electrician. I don't know what I'm doing. I've learned a lot from YouTube and from other people that have done builds, but I am not a qualified electrician. So take this as a documentation rather than me telling you what to do. First and foremost, first fix. I need to first fix this van because I want to start putting panels on, furniture in, insulating, and I can't do any of that. I'm now held up by the fact that I haven't first fixed the van. When it comes to electrics, as I understand it, there's first fix and then there's second fix. So first fix is like basically pulling all the cables into the positions where you'll need them in the future. Second fix is what I would call like connecting and wiring up to be live, putting in sockets, fitting the actual like lighting equipment and the sockets and the USB chargers and the outlets that you're going to use throughout the van or whatever second fix electrics you're doing. So today I'm just talking about the first fix section. So basically I want to pull all the cables in, and when I say pull all the cables, I want to put all the cables in the place where they need to be in the van, so then I can carry on insulating and get the walls covered and then go back and connect them up at a later date. Also, I want to note that I've learned a lot from a gentleman called Greg Virgo. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He is like the YouTube campervan guru, especially when it comes to electrics and anything like really technical. So I'll link his channel here, and anything I talk about in this video would be coming directly from the man himself, the myth, the legend, which is Greg. What I found when it comes to electrics is the first thing you want to do is plan. And when I say plan, there's a few things that you want to plan before you start putting cables in or doing anything. First thing is, for the van itself, is what your requirement is. You need to know what you want in the van, or I felt like I needed to know what I wanted in the van for me and the family, so we could be comfortable in the van with everything that we might want to use throughout the van. Now I've got 2 kids that have got tablets and stuff, so when we're on longer journeys they're going to want to charge them. I've got a wife who loves her phone. Like, who doesn't? She's going to want to charge her phone. We like a cup of tea, we like to be warm, we like some water in the van. Those are the things that I've sort of had to try and think about when planning where I want the electrics or what I want in the van. So first off, I started by just in the empty van, even before I had the bed in, I went around and I just marked locations of what I thought I might want where. So like lights, like little reading lights, main lights, fans, lights for the kids, plug sockets, everything that I thought I'd want and where in the van, with a Sharpie pen on the metal of the van, knowing that it'd be covered in the future. Then I sat down and made a list on my tablet, or you can write it, you can do it however you want. Then I went and made a list of all the things that I definitely know I wanted in the van. So I'll put the list on the screen now, so pause that, take a screenshot, do whatever you want to do, and I'll also put the list in the description. So I made the list and I started with lighting, which was quite simple. So what did I want lighting wise in the van? I know I wanted a main LED strip to be the main source of lighting, and then I knew I wanted some reading lights on the beds, and I knew I wanted some reading lights for the kids in their sleeping areas where they're going to be sleeping as well. So that sort of added that to my list. I knew I would have a fridge, I knew I would have a diesel heater, I knew I'd want a water pump. I'm not sure on what I want water wise at the moment, so I'm sort of like allowed for 2 potential pumps in 2 different locations, so I don't have to go back. And I wanted a max air fan. I know I definitely want a max air fan in the roof, and I know I want some 12-volt sockets for plugging in certain things in the back of the van and in the front of the van as well. And then most importantly, I knew I'd want some 240 volt sockets, which is like your household appliance sockets as well, for powering things like air fryers, kettles, something to, like things to cook food and make the all important cups of tea in the morning and on the evening once the kids have gone to bed. So the next thing, after you've got your plan of what you want in the van, where you want things in the van, it doesn't have to be finalized to you at this point where you want to pull cables in, is I felt that I wanted to think about how I wanted to power the van, and more importantly, how I'm going to store that power in the van to provide it throughout the entirety of the van. I don't know if you're anything like me, but it's a complete minefield out there. There's so many options, so many different parts and components you have to think about when dealing with solar panels and dealing with shore power and dealing with battery to battery charging, and then how to convert that power into 240 so you can run household appliances such as kettles and air fryers and hair dryers and all that stuff. And to be honest, my little brain couldn't comprehend it. Well, it could, and I do understand it to a certain point, and I've spent money on guides and stuff, and it all boiled down to that I just felt like it was just too complicated for me at this point. I just wanted something simple, something I can get on with, something that was good value, or what I felt was good value for money, and something that could do take a lot of the stress of power options away from me. So that's where I went with this, where this is the Bluetti AC240. Now, if you're familiar with the brand Bluetti, they do power banks ranging from small tiny ones to giant ones that could power a home, and this one is one that I decided to purchase to power my van and store the power that I'm going to be bringing into the van, and I'm going to go through a few reasons why. Before I go any further, I am not sponsored by Bluetti, believe it or not. I've got 42 subscribers, and yeah, I'm not sponsored by Bluetti. They've not paid me, they've not sent me anything. I've purchased that of my own money, off my own back, based off of how I wanted to go down the route of powering the van. A few key points about this is what it can produce. It's got 240 plugs on it, so it's got 4 240 plugs on it, which can produce 230 volts up to 2,400 watts, which is pretty good for what we need it for. So for example, we've ran our air fryer off this, cooked a whole meal in our air fryer off of this, and that was drawing about 1,300 watts, so that can go up to 2,400 standard, and it's got a boost charge up to like 3,500 watts as well, I believe. I will link this in the description where I got it from, so you can go and get all the specs yourself. And the other good thing about this is it's got a 12 volt system, which is with a 30 amp plug here, which basically means I can power my 12 volt electrics off of it. If you're unfamiliar, you've got 12 volt electrics and 230 volt electrics, which again, go and listen to someone who knows what they're talking about. But how I understand it is, majority of the appliances can run off of 12 volts. Your lighting, your fridge, if you get a proper 12 volt fridge, your diesel heater, your water pumps, your pretty much everything apart from big appliances such as your 230 sockets, charging laptops, kettles, air fryers, anything that draws a lot of power needs to go through 230 volts. So that's why I've gone for this, because this does the inversion for me. So it can produce 12 volt, 30 amp, and it can produce 230 volts, up to 2,400 watts standard. Does away with any like the inverters that you need to get and which inverters do you go for, how big of an inverter do you get. It does all that for me. So it's essentially, this has got a 2,400 watt inverter built into it. So going back to the 12 volt system, Bluetti actually do a cable that plugs into this and comes out and plugs and feeds your 12 volt Campervan system, which unfortunately, if you live in the UK, is constantly out of stock. So luckily I've got friends in America who purchased it. I purchased it, got it sent to them, and then they delivered it to me. So that cable is in the van, which will all be wired in a future video. The other thing why I've gone for this is because it can obviously be removed and I can take it to the beach if I really wanted to. It can be charged 3 different ways. So it can be plugged directly into what we call shore power. So you could basically set it up to plug the van directly into campsite power, which will charge that, and it's got passive charging, so you can charge and use at the same time. And it can be charged via solar. So when you buy this, it comes with a solar cable, that basically has the MC4 connectors on it, which if you don't know are the solar panel connectors, which you can wire directly into the solar panels, and I'll put the maximum amount of volts or watts it is that you can take from solar and plug it directly in so it can be charged via solar, and it can also be charged via battery to battery charging. So if you're familiar with Campervan electrics and you're up to the point where you're thinking about it, you know that you can connect like normal lithium or lead acid batteries with a proper system. You can charge it while driving. So Bluetti also do DC to DC or battery to battery charger kit, which I've got and I've not wired in yet, but I will be doing that in a future video, which you can basically connect it so you can either decide to charge off a solar or charge while you're driving or plug it directly in, and it's no different to what other camper vans would do. It does it all really, really simply, or how I see it simply. A few points to point out is that you can shore power, so you can plug it in to mains and you can charge it via solar or battery to battery charger at the same time. You cannot charge via solar and battery to battery at the same time, so you sort of I'll have to decide how I want to charge it via those two ways of charging when I'm on the move. But basically, if it's a nice sunny day, I'll be off of solar. If I've got a long journey but it's not that sunny, I'll be charging it while I'm driving. I've already fitted the solar panels on top, so I've got 400 watts of solar that is live and comes into this isolator box, and then basically here's the Bluetti cable here. Comes with a nice aviation plug and plugs directly in to the side of there, and then this isolator basically turns it on, turns it off. So when it's currently off, so even if it was drawing power, even though my solar panels would be drawing power, not so much now, it's nothing's happening. And then as soon as you plug it in, you just turn that on and basically it just kicks into action, starts charging. So I'm sorry, this is going to be a very talky video, just because I feel like there's a lot to explain about the power side before I just start doing things. I've taken this away on a fair few trips. I've done my 3 days stealth camping in Isle of Wight. This came with me, powered me for what I was doing, charging laptops, charging my phones, charging my camera batteries for 3 days without being plugged into a campsite at all. We've done a week in Wales, West Wales, with this, charging it into basically just off a solar, and also charging it via the campsite that we stayed on for a night. And we've also done like 3 days in Forest of Dean with this as well, solely off a solar. So yeah, it seems to be going really well. The real test will be once everything is wired in and usable, whether this will stand up to power it all. I believe it should do. My tests say that it should do. Yeah, it remains to be seen. So before you all jump in the comments saying that's not going to be big enough to power, we don't know yet. The way I'm going to wire up everything is, if all else fails and this doesn't work, I can take it out and rewire it into standard lithium batteries. The 12 volt system will be in place. It's just a plug and play, and the 230 volt system will be in place, plug and play as well. So they're my two planning points, how I've got to this point so far. But if you've got any questions, please do let me know. So let's put this back over here. Right, moving on to actually cabling now, so we can actually get some work done. Some things you will need for first fix is conduit, like this. This is just cheap plastic Amazon conduit. I got it off Amazon. I'll link it in the description below. But this is useful for stopping the cables running through the sharp metal edges of the van, getting across the top of the van and stuff like that. And then you'll need 2 types of cable. Again, I'll link Greg's video in the description below. Please go and watch his because he does it better than I do. Honestly, miles better. But 2 types of cable. This is basically 2 30 volt flex cable. So the cables you want to put in are flex cables, which are basically stranded, so it's not a solid core element. So you think in the van, this is moving a lot, there's a lot of moving parts in the van. Solid core cable, which I'll try and flex cable, which looks like that. I don't know if you can see that. You can see that the copper core inside made up of loads of little strands. This is better for using in the van because any movement, if one of the strands snaps, it's not going to kill all your power system. It's not going to go down. If that was solid copper, if there's too much movement in the van and then it snaps, you're knackered. You've put those cables in the wall, have to take things off to replace it. This is cable recommended by Greg. So this is 2.5 millimeter, and then this is what he recommends for the 230 volt sockets, the 230 system, which basically, this is basically going to act as an extension lead. So there'll be sockets on the other end, come back to this point, just I'll wire a plug, and they'll plug straight into there. So basically, this is what I'm doing now. I am running my first fix cable in to where I want them, where the appliances are that are going to be fed off of these cables, and then back to the point where I want all the cables, in particular like the 12 volt system, to come back to into the 12 volt fuse box. Some things to note as well is switch positions. For example, where you want the switches to control lights are or water pumps are, because you got to think about it, your water pump might be in the garage area of the van, so you're going to need a feed to the water pump to give it power, but you need to be sensible and smart on where you want to place that switch. So if you're only having a sink and your water pump's in the back of your van near your water tank or wherever, you need to run from the water pump to the switch location back to your 12 volt system, so you've got something that can basically power on that circuit. So for a water pump example, a sensible place to put that, or to, in my head, would be to put it in your kitchen area near the sink. So when you're at the sink, so you can press a button, your water pump comes on, and then you've got power and your water pump starts working and you've got free flowing water. And again, lighting, think about your main lights. For example, I'm doing a LED strip straight down the middle for the main light. So I want the light switch to be here on getting in and out of the van through the side door. During evening times, we've got reading lights and more ambient lighting that could be put on closer to where we are in bed. But on nights or dark, dusky evenings, if we want the main light on, the switches, come back from an outing, being out all day, come back, open the door, bam, you've got instant light. So that's sort of some things that you have to think about when running your cables, is that you want to include those switches as well if they're going to be in different locations to the appliance. So a lot of my cables are going to come out here just because how it works out to be. There's quite a few bits going on in this kitchen area. So I've got a switch ready for the main light. I'm putting in a cable for, I want underfloor, I want a light, an LED light under the kitchen cabinets. Ignore my clippers. They're my wife's snips. She's not an electrician either, but she's got her own gear, which helps. So the last little tip I would give on this, if you can call any of these tips, because like I said, I'm just having a go, is label as you go. Label as you go. Label your cables, both ends, what they are, because the last thing you want to do is have a bunch of cables in one spot or back there and be like, which one goes to where? So yeah, label your cables with either like what I'm doing. This is duct tape and a pen. People use masking tape, whatever you want to use. Just label them as you go, so you don't get lost and they don't get muddled up. So there we have it. That's the first fix done, in the sense of I've pulled all the cables in for what I want. So every cable has come back to here, ready, taped up, labeled and ready to go. All the cables are in rough position of where I think I want them. Last thing to do is to fit the external hookup through the side wall of the van here, which will be in another video. And then I can board this wall and start wiring it up and then building some furniture. So yeah, apologies for it being a very talky video where I'm explaining a lot in the sense of why I've done things like that and why I'm doing things like that. Hopefully future long form videos of my Campervan build will be more practical, shall we say. But yeah, if you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you've got any questions about the Bluetti, I will link the website in the description below. Please do put your questions in the comments section. Yeah, hope you've semi-enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of the campervan build coming in the future, as well as keeping up to date on my weekly adventures, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. As always, until next time, love you, bye. Oh.